Jim, you must be really pleased with what you saw out there tonight.
Yeah, I was, particularly in the first half. I thought in the first 25-30 minutes of the first half in particular, I thought there was some really good passages of play. I think you can see what we're trying to achieve with the group in terms of how we want to play. We played our way out of trouble a lot of the time in our defensive third. Broke lines into the midfield, and then we were able to attack at pace in the wide areas. And we had 2 or 3 really good chances in the opening half an hour. The second half, obviously we make a lot of changes, 10 changes with half an hour to go, and a lot of inexperience going on there. So the game kind of panned out pretty much how we thought it would be. Similar to over in the Netherlands last week, where we were winning 1-0 and then obviously find ourselves conceding, which is disappointing. But again, I stress the fact that we've got 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds out there for the last half an hour, and it's as I said, a fantastic learning curve for them playing against a really good opposition.
It was really noticeable, the pressing intensity out of possession. I've lost count of how many times we managed to turn the ball over. How big a characteristic of our style of play do you feel that'll be this season?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that style, the aggressive press at the top end of the pitch will work against certain teams. Simo Valakari has got a certain way of playing, and yeah, we wanted to go and lock on and be on the front foot at the top end of the pitch. In order to do that, you need real athleticism throughout the team, and that's obviously been a big part of our recruitment strategy this season, is to get good legs in the middle of the park, good pace at the top end of the pitch. Sapsford works tirelessly for the team. He'll be disappointed again with the half chance he had in the first half, but his effort and his commitment in order to set the triggers for that first press is incredible, how he keeps going. So there was a number of pleasing factors both in and out of possession. We rely heavily on the back line squeezing the pitch as well. We feel we've got enough pace and mobility there at the back line with Chris and Bert and Ayuri, that if teams do decide to go that bit longer, that we can get back and recover. And added to that, you've got Kucherenko with a really good high starting position that's sweeping up behind the back line. So both in and out of possession, I thought there was lots of really good examples in that opening 45 minutes. And yeah, we've got to take the positives from it. Of course, there's bits then that we can look back on and learn from. The goal we concede, we don't do enough to stop the cross initially, and then it's a free header for Kirk in the middle of the goal. So those are things that we can certainly improve on. But all in all, it's a pre-season fixture. We got the much needed minutes into the players' legs that was required, and obviously Saturday now we'll look to push a number of those players and try and get 90 minutes before the big game next week.
You mentioned recruitment. A couple of new arrivals over the past 24 hours. Amar and Christian both featured this evening. How do you feel they fared?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult for 2 new faces to come in so quickly, because obviously they had 1 training session with the players yesterday. We tried to go through 1 or 2 things that we're looking for from them in their position, but the other players have been working on this kind of thing for the last 3 weeks since we've been back in for the beginning of pre-season. So of course they're a little bit behind, but I thought again, you can see what they're going to bring to the team. Christian Carestes is the typical profile of a modern day centre back in terms of his stature. He's 6'4", 6'5", aggressive aerially, really mobile, doesn't mind getting dragged out into 1v1s in the wide areas, and has got real quality on the ball. I think one thing that we maybe were a little bit guilty of in the opening 45 minutes was sometimes taking too many touches and losing possession, and that's something that we have to drum home to the European players in particular, because a lot of them are coming from leagues where the tempo in the game is maybe a little bit slower than what our game here in Scotland is, so they're not going to get time to take 3, 4, 5 touches. They have to move things on quickly, and we'll analyse that game. We'll show the guys what we're talking about when we come back together for training, and those things will gradually improve.
Back to Tannadice on Saturday for that game against Oldham, almost exactly 2 months on from that game against Aberdeen. How much are you looking forward to getting back in front of our own supporters?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously we're delighted to be at home on Saturday. First opportunity for all the new guys to go and walk out the tunnel at Tannadice. Hopefully we'll get a a good turnout of our own supporters. I know a number of them will be away on holiday and things like that with the schools being off, but hopefully we'll get enough fans there to cheer on the new lads in particular and to show them what a big club they've came to.